When you look at everything happening globally, I mean, the way supply chains are shifting, all the geopolitical rumblings, this idea of economies becoming more diverse, more resilient, it really comes to the forefront, doesn't it?
It really does.
It's like the world economy is realizing it can't just rely on, a few key players or industries anymore.
That's exactly right. And this isn't just some abstract theory. We actually saw a major focus on this exact issue at the recent Global Economic Diversification Summit. It was held in Ottawa, Canada.
Ottawa, okay. And I heard the opening remarks from a Dr. Hilda really framed the whole conversation in a pretty significant way.
Oh, absolutely.
She started by acknowledging the summit's location, right, on the traditional unceded territory of the Along Anishinaabe Nation, highlighting their connection to the land.
Precisely. Dr. Hilda, who identifies as a Black African living in this territory, she really emphasized how critical it is to build stronger relationships with Indigenous peoples. So that immediately broadened the scope, beyond just pure economics. It wove in these vital themes of historical awareness, mutual respect, right from the start.
And it wasn't just a local Canadian focus, was it? I understand she also spoke about recognizing the global contributions, the resilience of Indigenous communities worldwide, racialized groups, other historically marginalized people and their struggle.
Exactly. It adopted this really wide-ranging, inclusive perspective from the get-go.
Sounds like it.
And here's where it gets really, I think, compelling. Economic growth wasn't just presented as, a way to boost GDP.
Right.
Instead, it was positioned as a powerful tool for, what some refer to as decolonization.
Okay.
Essentially reclaiming agency, restoring equity, and fundamentally reshaping economic systems that have historically excluded so many people. It's a really powerful way to think about the purpose of economic development.
That is a powerful framing. So the organization behind this, the Global Economic Diversification Council, what's their main goal? What are they trying to do?
Their central mission, really, is to cultivate economic futures that are resilient, adaptive, sure, but also genuinely inclusive. They see themselves as a catalyst, bringing together global leaders, mobilizing investments, fostering innovation, ultimately paving the way for more sustainable and inclusive prosperity worldwide.
Okay, let's dive into some specifics then. Dr. Hilda mentioned 6 key pillars that underpin the council's work. Can you break those down for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first pillar is inclusive entrepreneurship and resilient businesses.
Okay.
This is all about creating a supportive ecosystem, where a diverse range of entrepreneurs can actually flourish and where businesses are robust enough to weather economic storms.
That makes perfect sense. I mean, a strong, varied business landscape is just crucial for stability. What's number 2?
The second is skills mobility. This focuses on facilitating both the movement and the development of skills that are truly relevant to these more diversified economies.
Yeah.
It's about making sure individuals have the necessary skills to thrive in what's really an evolving job market.
So not just having skills, but having the adaptable skills needed for a changing economy.
Got it.
Precisely. Then the third pillar is sustainable finance.
Right.
This is where environmental considerations get integrated directly into economic decision-making and investment strategies. The aim is to ensure that economic progress doesn't come at the cost of, our planet's health. For instance, at the summit, there was talk around things like green bonds, channeling investment towards environmentally sound projects.
That feels absolutely essential, doesn't it, given the climate challenges we're all facing?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the fourth pillar?
That would be forward-looking governance. This pillar focuses on establishing policy frameworks that are not only adaptive, so they can respond effectively to change, but are also inclusive.
Inclusive how?
Ensuring that the benefits of economic diversification are shared broadly across society, not just captured by a few.
Right. Flexible and equitable policies. And the fifth pillar is the summit itself, the Global Economic Diversification Summit, or the GED Summit. Yes, the GED Summit. That's their big annual global gathering. It's where policymakers, investors, entrepreneurs, innovators, they all convene to essentially co-design roadmaps for economic resilience.
Okay.
And they also produce a really valuable report each year analyzing global economic trends, identifying emerging opportunities in different regions.
So it's both a collaborative forum and a source of data-driven insights. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And the sixth pillar.
The final one is the Coalition for Economic Diversification Investment, or CDI.
CDI, got it.
This is a global network. Investment leaders, development financiers, all specifically dedicated to identifying and supporting strategic investment opportunities in emerging industries.
And the goal there?
The primary goal is really to allocate capital in ways that build greater economic resilience and, crucially, reduce the risks that come with over-reliance on specific sectors.
So strategically directing investment to foster stronger, more diverse economies. It sounds like a very holistic approach.
It aims to be, yes.
Now, the opening remarks also touched on some other important areas beyond these 6 core pillars, didn't they? Something about sustainable development and global trade.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Under the banner of sustainable development and green economies, the Council places a really strong emphasis on incorporating green transition strategies into the overall economic planning.
Uh-huh.
This includes actively promoting growth in low-carbon industries, supporting the circular economy model, investing in climate-adaptive infrastructure, even leveraging nature-based solutions.
Okay.
And they're also working to support the creation of effective public and private sector frameworks that make sustainability a core component of policy and investment.
And the global trade aspect, what about that?
That falls under the pillar of inclusive global trade and market access. Here, the focus is on dismantling existing structural trade barriers,
Yeah.
and expanding access to global markets for countries and enterprises that have often been marginalized from global value chains.
So trying to level the playing field a bit.
That's the idea. It involves advocating for reforms in trade policy, developing digital trade infrastructure, promoting inclusive mechanisms for trade financing, that sort of thing.
It really sounds like they're actively trying to create a fairer system in international commerce.
Precisely.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the digital and knowledge economies pillar.
Ah, yes.
This recognizes the increasing significance of innovation, data, entrepreneurship in today's world. It's huge.
Huge, yeah.
So the Council is working to cultivate thriving digital ecosystems, support industries based on intellectual property, expand knowledge-based services.
Uh-huh.
They're also focusing on helping countries develop effective national data strategies and promoting initiatives for digital skills training.
So really embracing the future of work, the transformative power of tech and information. Okay, so for someone listening, maybe thinking, this all sounds really important. How can I or my organization actually get involved? What kind of partnership opportunities exist?
Well, there are several ways to engage, actually. Individuals, organizations, they can establish partnerships related to any of those 6 pillars.
Right.
That gives them access to valuable year-round resources, and they can even contribute their expertise to the Council's ongoing reports on economic trends.
Okay.
Plus, there's the possibility of making program-specific investments or offering sponsorships.
So direct funding?
Exactly. Directly funding one or more pillars. This could involve collaborating on developing practical toolkits, maybe leading specialized workshops, or designing tailored training programs for specific industries or regions.
So really tangible opportunities to have a direct impact. That's good to know. The opening remarks also mentioned the diverse group who attended this year's summit: experts, policymakers, investors, innovators. What was the common ground? What brought them all together?
I think the unifying factor was this shared conviction that relying on outdated economic models just isn't viable anymore. There's a collective understanding, really, that long-term strategic investment and forward-thinking policy frameworks are absolutely crucial for building lasting economic resilience, both locally and globally.
And it sounds like this sense of urgency was really underscored by some pretty significant challenges facing the world right now.
Oh, definitely. Dr. Hilda outlined a very clear picture of the current global economic landscape. You've got unprecedented levels of volatility.
Yeah.
Escalating geopolitical tensions, major shifts in global supply chains, persistent inflationary pressures, rapid tech advancements reshaping industries, and of course the growing undeniable risks tied to climate change.
It's a lot.
It is a lot, and these are the realities that make the need for economic diversification not just, a desirable goal, but an absolute necessity.
Especially for those economies that are heavily dependent on just one thing, right? A single sector or a limited number of resources.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For countries that have historically relied on, say, single commodity exports or really inflexible industrial structures, the potential downsides of not acting are becoming increasingly severe.
How so?
Well, as Dr. Hilda pointed out, when economies are overly concentrated, they're just inherently more vulnerable to external shocks. Simple as that.
Right.
And when economic opportunities aren't accessible to a broad segment of the population, social cohesion suffers. And if innovation is stifled, future economic prospects are seriously limited.
So the key takeaway here seems to be that economic diversification isn't just some, sound policy choice anymore. In today's world, it's really a fundamental strategy for survival, for long-term prosperity.
Precisely. It's about proactively building resilience against those inevitable disruptions, fostering inclusive economic growth that benefits a wider range of people, and transitioning towards economic systems that are more just, environmentally sustainable, and ultimately more adaptable to whatever the future might hold.
And the summit itself, it sounds like it really emphasized taking concrete action, not just having theoretical discussions.
Absolutely. The focus was definitely on identifying and unlocking tangible opportunities across critical sectors, strengthening strategic investments in key areas, and expanding the overall capacity of economies to effectively adapt to these uncertain and changing conditions.
I found it particularly noteworthy that the entire first day was specifically dedicated to women's economic empowerment. That really signals a significant commitment, doesn't it?
It really does. And Dr. Hilda made it very clear this wasn't just some symbolic gesture.
Yeah.
It's viewed as a fundamental strategic imperative to actively dismantle the systemic barriers that continue to prevent women from fully and equally participating in economic life.
Right.
The overarching goal is to position women as influential leaders, key innovators, dynamic creators across all sectors of the economy.
Because, as she rightly pointed out, empowering women isn't just about fairness or equity, though that's crucial. Obviously, it's also a well-established driver of overall economic growth. It strengthens communities, leads to tangible progress for future generations. I mean, it's just economically inefficient to leave that much talent and potential untapped.
Exactly. You're leaving value on the table. And the summit's objective was really to move beyond just understanding the challenges.
Okay.
The real aim was to forge new, meaningful partnerships, elevate successful strategies that are already working at the community level, and share practical tools and resources that can be effectively implemented across different borders and diverse sectors.
It really all comes back to the power of learning, doesn't it? I thought it was powerful when Dr. Hilda described knowledge as the currency of the future.
It's a great analogy, isn't it?
Yeah.
In this global landscape that's constantly evolving, the ability to continuously learn, rapidly adapt, foster innovation, it's absolutely paramount for meaningful economic transformation. And it's also seen as a critical pathway to addressing those long-standing historical inequities and bridging the various economic and social gaps that exist within our societies.
So this vision she painted of learning-driven economies where access to knowledge is democratized, where innovation is guided by human dignity, not just profit. That's a really inspiring idea.
It is. And Dr. Hilda's call to action was for everyone to approach this not as, passive bystanders, but as active co-creators in shaping the economic landscape of the future.
Getting involved.
Exactly. Actively engaging with these important challenges and embracing the emerging opportunities.
And she posed some really crucial questions for us all to consider, didn't she? Things like, how can we effectively reduce our dependence on economic sectors that are particularly vulnerable to shocks?
Right.
How do we scale up innovation in a way that ensures the benefits are shared widely, inclusively?
Yeah, that's key.
And how do we strategically redirect capital towards investments in climate adaptation, essential infrastructure, overall productivity? These aren't simple questions, are they? But they're clearly the critical ones we need to be grappling with.
Absolutely. And she concluded the main part of her remarks with that wonderful quote from Kung Fu Panda about today being a gift.
I remember that part.
Yeah, it really resonated with the underlying theme of the GED Summit, that this is our present opportunity. Our chance to come together, share valuable knowledge, spark innovative ideas, and collectively identify those crucial strategic actions that will let us adapt, diversify, and ultimately fortify our economic systems for the future.
So when we really break it down, this deep dive into Dr. Hilda's opening remarks, it shows that economic diversification is, well, it's far more than just a trendy term.
Much more.
It's a vital, multifaceted strategy for building genuine resilience and fostering truly inclusive growth in a world that's just constantly undergoing rapid change.
Exactly.
And the discussions, the initiatives coming out of that summit, they represent a significant and necessary step in that crucial direction.
Precisely. It's about proactively moving beyond just, acknowledging the complexities of our current economic climate to actively shaping a future that is both more stable and more equitable for everyone.
So for you, the listener, as you consider these 6 key pillars we've explored, inclusive entrepreneurship, skills mobility, sustainable finance, forward-looking governance, the GED Summit itself, and that Coalition for Investment, the CDI, maybe think about this. What single area do you believe holds the most immediate, the most significant potential for fostering greater economic resilience and inclusivity within a specific context you know well? It could be your community, your industry, your country.
That's a good question to ponder.
It's definitely something to reflect on, perhaps explore further on your own.
Indeed.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the vital and timely topic of economic diversification.